Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and today is Wednesday. It's April 5th. This will be our chart listing for the day. And just real quickly, a couple housekeeping things. This weekend is Easter weekend. Friday is Good Friday, so the markets will be closed on Friday. I think they close even earlier on Good Friday. I don't think they trade to noon like they do on most trading holidays. So I think they are open during the overnight, but close around 8 o'clock or 8:15 or something like that. You should get a notice from your broker. If not, you can go to the CME and look it up. But I believe it's closed. So basically, Friday's a holiday, so no trading on Friday. We don't do chart lessons on Friday anyway. But just for a heads up for anybody that's not aware, a lot of times people don't realize when these holidays are coming up and they get caught off guard by them. But so tomorrow we'll wrap up our week. And then I'll be in the office Monday and maybe Tuesday morning, but I'll be leaving Tuesday and I'm taking the whole rest of that week off. I will be out of town, so I'll have very limited email um, access. Um, so just be prepared for that. I'll be around Monday and that'll be it. So next week for the most part, like I said, I may come in for an hour or so on Tuesday morning just to wrap up and close things up since I'm gonna be gone for the whole rest of the week. And so I won't be back to the following Monday, which I'm not sure what that date is. Let me just glance at my calendar real quick. That date will be, so I'll be in Monday, and then so I guess I'll see you Monday, and then it won't be see you again until Monday the 17th of April. So this week's going to be a short, or this month's going to be a short month, to be honest. So um, with my health issues and then me being gone, and then again in May I'm gonna be gone another week. I'm going to Alaska in May, so I'll be gone a week then and probably won't have much access to email or anything then either. So just kind of giving you a heads up. And I don't plan on going anywhere for a while, so we'll see how things go. But anyway, just wanted to give you that heads up about Friday and then all next week. Again, we'll have a chart lesson probably Monday, and that'll probably be it. So uh, but anyway, let's get to today's lesson. You can see this is the daily chart with the envelope bands. We did get some follow through selling today. Again, we closed off the lows. They seem to do that every day. They drive it up right before the close when the volume gets thin. But we did get some follow through selling. We'll see. I would expect that we're probably going to come back and to the midline here. We'll see. We may push up one more time before we do. But once we turn down, we should come back to this midline at a minimum. That's basically a 21 bar EMA. These other bars are based on some other calculations, but this middle bar, this middle purple bar, is based on a 21 bar EMA. So that's just a running average like you'd see on any other chart we use with a 21 EMA. Zoom in a little bit here so you can see it, but you can see we closed well off the lows. So we did close much lower today, but we closed well off the lows. We seem to keep doing that. So it seems to be kind of the day we did it today. Yesterday, we did it today. We've done it a bunch down here. So we'll see. We'll see what tomorrow brings. If we get more follow through buying or not. But there's what it looks like on the daily chart. When we flip over to the intraday chart, you'll see it looks very similar. We had a downtrend and reversed and traded up some. So let's flip over there and take a look. And here's our 2000 tick chart, and you can see we had this downtrend, very obvious, easy to see, and then we had a break of it here and trended up, and then just kind of trended sideways from there. But we did close way off the lows, so there it is. And early on we were in this sideways stuff, and notice how when we broke out we moved about a measured move before we pushed lower. And if you looked at, I didn't look at it this way, but if you go back and look at this as a range early on, let's just see what it looks like as far as a measured move then, because you really don't get the two legs measured move, but I bet you it's going to be something close to this. Yep, and you can see there it is. We pretty much moved a measured move down here and then bounced and came back, and looks like we found resistance up here at what's probably the midline. So this is just a big range day, it looks like. Although we did trade down most, at least until lunchtime, we traded down. And we traded up for an hour or so and then sideways again. So you can see we came back and tested this breakout area from earlier this morning and closed slightly off of that. So that's kind of what it looks like for the day. In the big scheme, it's probably a range day, but for the most part, we had a downtrend and another late rally. So there were a couple of news items here. I marked them off early. So there's not much going on early this morning. You didn't really start to get some trades until around 10 o'clock. There's a couple of green ones I marked in there, but we'll go over those in just a minute. But we'll zoom in here and go through the trades, and we'll go from there. But let's get zoomed in here, and I'll show you. There's not anything going on early this morning, but I'll show you this. 7 o'clock's, we got this 7:15 news, so I'd just be flat into this. Employment, I mean, you don't usually get anything too crazy, but still right now, with the way the economy is, anything economic, any kind of red, volatile economic news, I'd be flat at least 15 minutes going into it. And so you can't really trade until over here, and there's just not much setting up here. Maybe you go short right here. Actually, you couldn't. Actually, you could right there. It's just a double top. I'm not crazy about entering that trade. I didn't mark it. Maybe you go short right there. If this had an equal high, you could use that bar. Maybe you go short there, but then you got the midline right there. So you do get a triple test down here. So maybe you take that. It's a really big bar. You have to enter it on the engulfing bar, and that's always dangerous. So most of you need to wait till this closes. And then it's so close to the high, it's not worth taking. So if you didn't enter this on the engulfing bar, I'd skip that trade. And of course, that's getting close to the 9 o'clock PMI numbers, which are, again, is economic tied to our economy. And so you want to be flat. And you can see it was about like the other one. Maybe not quite as bad, but you got a little volatility in there. And so it didn't last very long. Really, by 9:04 or 5, you could trade again. I don't see anything in here I would trade, but this one maybe. It's really congested though, so that's what scares me. But it breaks lower, turns up. Again, if you traded it on the engulfing bar, maybe, but I think it's too risky, so I'm not even going to mark it. Then you come back down here and you make another low, and again, it looks congested. And so I just don't see anything down there that really interests me. You need to just sit and wait. And this is where being patient and sitting and waiting really changes your performance, because if you try entering a lot of this stuff, you're going to get burned. You can just see how flat, especially by the time it gets over here, how flat and congested it is. Just stay out of that stuff. There's no way to know exactly what prices are going to do, and they'll be all over the place. But suddenly we get back to the trend line, and it sells off rather strongly. Unfortunately, no chance to get in it there. But it comes back. It gives you a lower high here, but that's moved too far. So really you need a failure here, and that comes right here. And so I like maybe going short there, but it's still a little congested. Really, the way I saw this, this is almost like a starting fresh new here. And then you try to go higher 3 times, right? Confirm that trend line. I like going short there better than I do here, because that really looks like the 2 legs that fell, and that's probably going to trap people. And you can see how that rockets down real fast. And once it started going lower, I would definitely look for a measured leg right there. And you can see we surpass that. So, but your target's probably going to be the other side of the range, but you don't really know exactly where that is. You might think it's right along here, but it could be a little lower, a little higher still. I wouldn't say it would be higher than if you moved the line right here, but it could be a lower still. And you can see it was lower, and then you move that down, and everything tends to fit really well like that. So you're probably headed to the line, and then of course the measured move that I showed you earlier, you might look for that too. And that's where we ended up really finding support before we bounced. But uh, you get a second entry here, but the signal bar is no good. And then it drops down. You get another second entry right here. Signal bar is no good, but you do get a lower high this time with a good signal bar, so you get a chance to enter. And you're just looking for prices to try to make a new low here, retest these lows again. So make sure you got enough room for that. And then it bounces. I wouldn't trade this bounce. Again, you get a higher low here, but by the time you can enter, it's on an engulfing bar. If you wait till here, you see you might run into some resistance, but it continues to work higher. No failure, any kind of reversal you'd want to take there. And then you get two legs back in a second entry, but again, it's on an engulfing bar. And unless you enter on the engulfing bar, there's no way you enter this one, because there's no way you want to enter that, use that for a signal bar unless you started with the engulfing bar. And that's always dangerous. So, and you do get a higher low here, but it just looks too congested. So again, I don't see anything that interests me. And you could trade this channel both ways, because see how we're going above the EMA, below it, above the EMA, below it, above the EMA. This is a very weak, even though it's a downtrend, it's a very weak sideways kind of downtrend. So if you get a really good long, you could take it. It needs to be a strong long though. Otherwise, just stick with the trend. And really, I don't see anything down through here. Maybe here when we had the support, and maybe even here if you got something really good. But other than that, I don't see any really good setups. So I marked a few green ones on the way down, but most of your trades are going to be with the trend after all. So of course we rallied here. Like I said, I don't see anything I really like. You get the break. Two-legged correction, so you may get a measured move here. Look for a possible measured move. You can see we actually went further than that. So your first target would be measured move. Your second would be back to the trend line or something like that. We actually find resistance back here at this support resistance line. That measured move from this pink, small pink channel. But notice you get a second entry right here, but not a good enough, no signal bar. And then you get a little lower high, still plenty of room back to the EMA. I like that trade. Then you're just kind of going sideways here. And then notice what happens. You get a first entry, second entry, and that second entry right there breaks higher, confirms that. You could trade that on the engulfing bar. I'd wait for it to close. And then you get two legs down, and then guess what? You get a repeat pattern. It kind of comes back and gives you that same setup again with another second entry. Drop on down, and guess what? Then you get a third repeat pattern. They're all three of those patterns look just alike. By this time, you might trade it on the engulfing bar since you saw it work 3 times before. In fact, I probably would trade that on the engulfing bar. I don't know if I'd wait with this big a stem and go short way down here. What you might do is let this break lower and drop a limit order back a little bit, and you would have got filled. Actually, even better than if you'd have traded the engulfing bar. Then it drops on down. And of course, when it hits down here and makes a new low, it makes a triple bottom as well. So maybe you trade that back, see if it comes back to the EMA. You've already moved your measured move. If you were looking at the bigger channel, so that, but we've kind of pushed through that both times. So I wouldn't trust that too much just yet, but that still may be worth a second entry, worth a scalp back to the EMA. And of course, it's a great trade. And if you catch that, you don't get a runner, unfortunately. You do get a higher low here, but that's right back into the trend line, and we have not closed outside that yet. So no, I'm not going to go long right there. I'm going to want a reversal here or something, and you just actually get a failed second entry reversal type pattern right here. You don't really necessarily know this is going to be a reversal yet, but it's a failure, and it confirms a trend line. So it's worth trying to ride it back to this trend line and see if maybe you've caught a reversal or not. I don't see anything else in here I really like. Then we get a break. Again, you got a second entry long. This is a double top, so first entry, second entry. You'd have to trade that on the engulfing bar, and maybe you consider that to ride it back to the EMA. But I'd want to wait till this closes, and it's just such a big bar. It's 12 ticks. I mean, in the big scheme, what we see lately, it's not that big a bar, but for today, it's a relatively big bar. But it's still a nice looking bar. But your second entry was way back here, so here I'd probably wait for something different. But you might take that trade. I'll mark it green because you would expect prices to try to make a new high here, even if they're going to turn back down and make a new low. But this thing just kind of takes off here. Um, and we come back and we're just kind of bouncing along this support. And you can see we get a triple test right here with a big bar. Again, I wouldn't trade that on the engulfing, but if it breaks above there, I'd probably go with it. You get a higher low here. Again, I don't think I'd trade the engulfing bar on this one. And by the time it closes, it's right at where it's been turning down at the midline. There's not even really enough room on the engulfing bar to get out, so I just skip that. Of course, it runs up here and it pushes a little higher. And you can see we've basically got a new high here, and you try to go higher twice. So you could look at that as a failure, although that just looks like a double top to me. And look how we close back inside that, what looks like the highs of a possible range with plenty of room back to the EMA. I like going short there. You get a lower high here, no signal bar, and then we're just chopping sideways. And you actually try to come back here, but now you're too close to the lows. Nothing there. Breaks out the bottom, fails. No setups to go long, and it takes you pretty much into 230. And you just don't get anything else. There is a nice reversal failure here, but I don't think I would trade that with that holding right there because there's too big a chance it breaks higher and comes back down to here. And this is well after 230 anyway, so it doesn't matter, but I'm just kind of pointing that out. If it wasn't 230, it looks like a nice reversal failure. It's not really where you would expect a reversal, though, is the problem. So, but you would expect prices to try to make a new high. There's actually let me just go back and explain this a little more so people don't get confused. There's a nice channel here. You can clearly see it. First break. So prices will probably try to make a new high. And you might get two legs up there. So this might turn out to be a nice move, but it's just too late. And it's too far after 230. And that's how I saw it today. It was mostly downhill till about lunchtime. And then we got a couple of legs up and just kind of traded sideways after that for the most part. So there it is. But anyway, we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. We'll wrap up our week tomorrow. Just trying to think if there's anything else. I'm feeling better today. No more pain pills today, so I didn't even need a pain pill, so I'm off of those already. And I felt a little throbbing during the day. I took some Tylenol, a couple of Tylenol, and I'm good. So I think I'm pretty much feeling good enough that I'll probably trade tomorrow. And we'll kind of get back in the saddle tomorrow and kind of have a regular day. So that's kind of my plan anyway. So I'm catching up on the email and stuff, and I'll try to get through the forum and get to some of that stuff if I can, especially with me leaving for another week. So I'll try to read as much as I can there when I can. But I'm still struggling to keep up with these days off and vacation and my health, and so I'm feeling good. So I think I'm back to normal for the most part, other than I'm a little bit shy on the ear side. I don't have quite as much ears as I did before, but other than that, I'm back to normal. So I appreciate the well wishes and the notes and the prayers and all that good stuff. It means a lot to me, it really does. So I appreciate you guys, and some of you have been around a long time, and we just keep chugging along, keep doing this. So we'll continue to keep doing it for now. But I'm going to wrap it up today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.